Happy Aloha Friday, everyone. The stock market staged a very powerful rally today overall. The NASDAQ did very well, as you can see, up 1.3%. The Russell 2000, though, lagged the NASDAQ, and you don't always want to see that. That always leaves, me scratching my head a little bit. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was also up stronger than the Russell 2000. So once again, that's not quite what you want to see whenever the market's trying to rally back after a ugly sell-off to new highs. But it is what it is, and the market looks like it's probably found some stable footing near the 50-day moving average and at the 50-day moving average of the indexes. Volume was lower than the day before, so you can't say that this was clear conviction. But remember, below average volume rallies are the most bullish thing ever in a QE environment. So I would actually take today as extremely bullish, especially since volume was below the day before and below average, if history is any guide to how we begin rallies. On that note, the sell signal that was triggered just 2 days ago, and remember, it was just a cosmetic sell signal, but this cosmetic sell signal led me to one of my biggest blunders since 2011. It's been a full 2 years since I've regretted a non-trading decision like I have, and I think it's more important tonight to go over a video lesson. But the bottom line is the cosmetic sell signal is turned back into a neutral signal, so we are once again in neutral mode on all indexes, and I don't think that we're going to switch to a buy mode until we hit new highs on these indexes and or we have a very powerful high volume rally. Until we see that, I just do not think that our model will switch. However, by looking at the TQQQQ, that is a very happy SPXL move overall, but still neutral, neutral, neutral. That then leaves me to the past 5 trading sessions. It's been very depressing, borderline upsetting, emotional almost on my part, and I don't do anything emotionally. Everything I do is very methodical. I'm basically a robot, and I don't think that's good as a human, but it works for me, and it makes me used to make me a great stock trader, makes me now an okay stock trader. Shit has not been going well since 2011, and that continues. And one of the biggest problems is that chart patterns that used to be almost automatic guarantee me money. I would say it was very akin to taking candy from a baby or picking up the money in the corner of the room, as Jesse Livermore said. But, this is how it goes nowadays. A beautiful chart pattern like we were seeing in March and April in CHT leads to a full cut loss in May, and now, of course, the goddamn thing wants to rally higher. This used to never happen. Ever. Ever. I used to never have hot charts turn out like this, and I mean ever. From 1996 to 2010, or 2008, I should say, because 2009 rally, that's when they stopped showing up. They were always reliable. But once again, a fail here. And then WDAY, here we go again. A beautiful, perfect signal off the 50-day moving average. A fail, a harsh, harsh, harsh failure. And here we go, rallying right back above the 50-day moving average. Very depressing to see, very upsetting. I don't understand why this is happening when it never happened before, but I don't need to understand why it's happening. It's happening, that's all I need to know. And then at the same time, since we started to get weak under a sell signal, I can't believe a stock chart that looked like this after getting long a couple of, having a couple long signals and having a great looking fully accumulated max green bot chart like that can actually give 25% sell signal here and now rebase back out with BOP continuing to go lower. Once again, depressing to see, confusing to see on my end, but it is what it is. I don't know what to tell you. If everybody's like, how come you don't go 20% long in any one position like you used to always do? How come you don't go 10% long in any one position like you used to? How come you don't go 5% long more in any position like you used to? Well, LOCK is why, WDAY is why, and CHT is why. Because what used to be golden and for sure profits no longer are, and it's depressing. ICLR is the only one recently that so far hasn't sucked me out yet. Hopefully this one can continue to go, but it doesn't even look great anymore. And then on that note, unfortunately, a missed signal came from TTS. I have loved this chart pattern since December Was a big fan of this stock in early 2013. Kind of went off my radar until the day of the sell signal. On the day of the sell signal, which you can see here on the NASDAQ, we sold off. And unfortunately, for me, TTS produced an extremely high quality long signal. That is when BOP surges from barely green or green to max green BOP, much less negative yellow to max green BOP. Volume is then the highest basically in the stock chart that I can go back. Normally it's to zoom 1, which is a couple of years, as you can see here, going back to on the NASDAQ, for instance, it takes you back in 2010. So you got 3 years here. So normally whenever I get that in a chart pattern, whenever I get the biggest volume in 3 years, a max green BOP surge, and especially when price is bouncing right off the 50-day moving average following a max green BOP and heavy accumulation filled previous rally that then pulls back very nice at 50-day moving average, this is always a 5% plus signal. However, a unique item happened that hasn't ever happened as far as I'm concerned. I can't remember the last time I've gotten a single signal like this and not taken it. I really can't remember at all. Can't recall, which means it hasn't happened in at least 5 years. It hasn't happened. It didn't happen in 2009, didn't happen in 2010, and the last signal that I remember screwing up was the major sell signal in the NASDAQ in June or July 2011 that I did not take all in on, and I regretted that massively because that was a very great sell signal. But TTS produced one of the best buy signals you're ever going to see unless the base already had green BOP in it. And if this base was green BOP in it the entire time, I believe I would have taken the signal anyway, just very small, like 2%, 1%, 2% risk account, 1% non-risk account. However, I went 0-0. And it cost me big the next day, and it cost me even more the next day. And in 2 days, I have left 13% on the table from an amazing buy signal, and I can't tell you how much that pisses me off, makes me upset, sad, angry, confused, everything. Every emotion that you can feel about missing a great trade can be felt. And the only thing that I can look back on this on, since it's never happened before, is if I get a great signal in a stock whenever not every index is below. So the Russell 2000 and the NASDAQ, they're both still above the 50-day moving average. It's only the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the New York Stock Exchange, and S&P 500 that are below the 50-day moving average. And if S&P 500 isn't, so it was only the New York Stock Exchange and the Dow Jones Industrial Average was barely below the 50. It was above the 50-day move. So now I'm even learning even more right now by going through this video with you. So it was above the 50-day moving average. So the only index that was below the 50-day moving average on the sell signal was the New York Stock Exchange. That is going to be my lesson for the next time this happens, as this has never been back tested or seen before. I have never ever received a near perfect signal on a day where our model switches to a sell signal. It was only a cosmetic sell signal, and as you can see by the length of time I'm spending on this, I am pissed off beyond any reasonable doubt, or I've lost my mind basically the past 2 days watching this action in TTS. The only thing is that the only thing you can do when something like this happens is learn from your mistakes. So I must learn from my mistakes. Anytime we produce a sell signal and I get this signal, I got to take it anyway. If it's under the 50-day or 200-day moving average and I get this signal in a stock that's trending above the 50-day moving average that already has this much green overall in the chart, I got to take the signal, even if it's 1% in both accounts. And whenever we're above the 50-day moving average on some indexes and we do get a sell signal, I've got to take this at 2 and 1%, 2 and 2%, even if I'm sure that the pullback is not gnarly. But the volume was picking up on the pullback, so what am I going to do? It's been a rough market. I just had CHT fake me out. I just had WDAY fake me out, and now I've screwed up with TTS. So the past 5 days have been absolutely horrible. It doesn't get much worse for me. However, the crazy fucking thing about all this is that after the past 5 days, I actually am about flat with a tiny gain despite the UVXY trade, which is fucking shocking to me. But it goes to show that when you obey your signals, which to me is the 20-day, 50 and 200-day moving average, and you don't just sell stocks because you think that we are going to sell off, it pays off. And we did not have any full sells on the full signal date or the days that followed it. And I think that that's a testament to the methodology. So the sell signal produced no full sell signals, which allowed us to stay long most of our stocks, even though we did trim back some. But lesson learned, TTS, what a pisser. So look at this chart right here that I'm going back and forth on. You ever see BOP do this, and you ever see volume do that, and you ever see a chart like this that has that much green before, you get long. Bottom line, I fucked up. I don't plan on fucking up again.